Hello, everybody. I'm here to talk to you today to talk about galactic center activations. Because on this eclipse, by the way, happy eclipse. The eclipse occurred under an hour ago. I was happy enough to be out walking in a kind of stormy, windy day. It's not really stormy, but it's cloudy and moody. And I'm wearing this, which felt very scorpionic, which was from a tour by Stephen Jenkinson, who wrote a book called Die Wise and various other books, and does kind of spoken word tour with music and song as well with a friend of his. I'm a big fan of Stephen Jenkinson, and since this is a Scorpio full moon, it feels really appropriate. So before I dive in, I'm going to look at the eclipse chart again. Then I'm going to actually look at Biden's chart and Bernie Sanders' chart. I had these big ahas today come in for me, and it feels like I'm getting download after download after download of awareness. And you should know that my ascendant is conjunct the galactic center, and you'll see where that is when I show the chart. And the south node on this eclipse is conjunct my midheaven. So kind of the two angles, the ascendant, the midheaven, that go out there are kind of like a big antenna today to downloads. So watch this space, watch for extra posts. I think this is going to continue, and I will show you why. And over the next 2 years, I would expect that my channel is going to become less technical and more kind of channeled content almost. So but before I show the chart, I actually want to read to you a post. The astrologer Ronnie Grishman, she used to own and be the editor of Dell Horoscope, which was a fabulous astrology magazine. She was the editor-in-chief, and she occasionally shares articles that she wrote for that magazine for a while. And she has what she calls an obsession with the galactic center. Okay. And she shared it today because the galactic center today is being activated on this eclipse by Jupiter, Venus, and Neptune. And it's going to be activated by Mars and Ceres 2 coming up. More Thursday was the big activation, so this is Friday, but this is a big thing that's ongoing, and I'll particularly be looking at Neptune. But let me read this article first. As editor-in-chief, it was her letter. Dear readers, this is a new time in the history of the world. Our telescopes and satellites are bringing us closer and closer to a vast, perhaps infinite universe. Aligned with the axiom, as above, so below, we here on planet Earth are also rising to a new level in our expansion, shifting the way we view the universe and our place in it. We have been Earth-centered for a long time. Now we turn to the stars. Let's picture ourselves as we really are. 8 billion people afloat on a planet in space that orbits a star and dwells within a galaxy with billions of other planets and stars. Our Milky Way Galaxy is 13 to 15 billion years old, with a gravitationally bound collection of roughly 100 billion stars. The diameter is about 100,000 light years, with the central bulge measuring about 30,000 light years. Our solar system is positioned at the outer regions of this galaxy. Our sun is one of the stars within it and located roughly 28,000 light years from the center of the Milky Way. Our sun orbits this center at a rate of 135 miles per second and takes about 250 million years to complete its orbit. but believed to lie at the exact center of our galaxy is a compact yet very bright source known as Sagittarius A. And in fact, sidebar, we do now have pictures of it thanks to the new telescope that has gone up. Anyway, some astronomers argue that this source contains a black hole about the size of a large star with a mass equivalent to several million suns. Colossal energies are found here. The enormous amount of material drawn into that black hole radiates at many frequencies. Some say that emanations from this center cover over 2 degrees of longitude. This pulsating point in space is the galactic center, sitting at approximately 27 degrees Sagittarius. It's big, so, you know, I've put it on the chart at 27 degrees. The galactic center is said to be the origin of most of the gravitational energy in our galaxy. The galactic center is considered a direct line to the divine creative will. In the esoteric Kabbalah, the galactic center is represented by the top Sephiroth, the crown, the Keter. Thinking of an antenna system broadcasting a very high frequency beyond normal range. A portal to another dimension, like a cascading avalanche of energy and consciousness, pouring forth information from another reality matrix. If a chart connects to this degree, you might be able to manifest special spiritually advanced talents in tune with the highest cosmic energies. Famous seers and scientists, among them Einstein, Casey, Geller, and a sidebar, also Yogananda, apparently, have strong aspects to this point. And I have my ascendant. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. The archangel for this Sephiroth is Metatron, he who is closest to God. Metatron stands as a bridge and ambassador between our solar system and the higher cosmic forces. It's interesting that those with personal planets in aspect to the galactic center feel that they are not of this world. Tell me about it. And that their origins are extraterrestrial, and like their guiding archangel, are here as galactic emissaries. Now, I just want to give you a couple of dates, but the main one is, well, actually just the one. Neptune actually transited the galactic center in 1982 and 83, back and forth over it. I'm just going to copy this so that I can put it in the details, the part I've read up to now, because she goes on to talk then about the aspects that were happening when she wrote it. But, you know, I've been following the galactic center for a while, and I forgot completely to mention it in my Eclipse video, which is fine because we'll just do another one. But so I've known of the galactic center for some time. I've known as it being kind of the voice or the center of God, of the goddess, of the creative organizing principle at the center of the Milky Way Galaxy. I've known that it's said to emanate these new information, new scientific discoveries, new news about science fiction-y type things as well. And I must say, I thought for a long time, because my birth time is not on my birth chart because I was born in the UK. My mom told me I was born at 9:10 a.m. So I thought my ascendant was 2 degrees Capricorn, until I went to my first astrology conference a few years ago in Zion National Park, of all places. Zion kind of being God's land kind of thing. And And all the other astrologers were like, you're not Capricorn rising, you're Sagittarius rising. So I rectified my own chart, and I then had it professionally rectified. I rectified it by a couple of things that felt significant, and my pendulum, trusty pendulum, and I got to the time of 8:52 a.m. And then I paid another astrologer to rectify my chart, who's really hot on rectification down to seconds, and she got the time of 8:52 a.m. and 15 seconds. But since realizing that I was Sagittarius rising, and since realizing the degree, the galactic center actually opened up for me. And I don't think that's an accident. I think when I thought when my soul thought it was Capricorn rising, it didn't connect with it as much. But since the connection to the galactic center has been activated by my rectified ascendant, it's like explosion. And boy, are there downloads today. So that was a long way to say, let's look at the chart for the eclipse and look at the galactic center. So I've put the galactic center here on the chart. It's at 27 degrees of Aquarius. Now, what's that got to do with the eclipse, you say? Well, the actual eclipse itself is not aspecting the galactic center, but I'm going to draw my lines on. So as the eclipse was approaching, Venus opposed the galactic center. All right. Now Jupiter is trine the galactic center. Neptune is coming up to square the galactic center, and Neptune in Pisces is kind of vast ocean of unknowing, of collective unconscious, of source of spirit, of the word of God. And since the galactic center is supposedly this direct or closest to God energy, you get the idea. Other things that are coming up, Mars is back in bounds now and will be coming up to quincunx it, but Black Moon Lilith is quincunx the galactic center now. I also set the eclipse chart for Washington, D.C., because there's a lot happening in the US. If I get chance as well later, I might do one for the UK and for King Charles' coronation. But the ascendant for the eclipse for Washington, D.C., the center of government, is in a trine. Look at this. Jupiter, which really is faith belief. Neptune is faith belief. Jupiter's expansion and growth as well. And Leo is kind of the king and royalty. We have a fire grand trine going to the galactic center on this eclipse, which is actually really a kite to Venus. And this is all lovely energy. This is new information. This is new ideas. This is a big shift. I'm glad that we have an outlet from this fire grand trine. Fire is creation, passion, phoenix kind of energy. It's the creative impulse. And then Venus over here at 27 Gemini, staring into the mind of the galactic center, if you like, the mind of the source of all life on our planet. The information that's coming through on this eclipse is astounding. Pay attention to what comes your way. Pay attention to what's happening in the news. Look for the good information as well. Look for what's downloading onto our Earth. Incidentally, in many ways, Venus is our Earth. She represents the highest incarnation. Just moving my candle out the way because I want to sip on my drink. She is the higher energy of Earth. Incidentally as well, the ascendant here is at is conjunct the degree Venus is going to station retrograde at on her station retrograde on July the 22nd, which is the feast day of the Magdalene. And that's activating my Venus retrograde heroines journey class, which I do not think you want to miss. Somebody said to me the other day that you do know that Venus is only invisible for 8 days during the retrograde. And I'm like, of course I know. I know my astronomy. But Venus came to me in a dream and told me to do Venus retrograde classes, and they are extremely impactful. And so I hope you'll join me. There's a 3-pay option at the moment. But I thought this eclipse is kind of activating that as well. It's activating the Venus retrograde energy. This is also conjunct the degree of the Great American Eclipse that happened in August of 2017, August the 21st, 2017. So big changes are coming in the US, and there's more to come. So I'm just going to get rid of those lines. So I'm actually going to stop the share and then make sure I've got the correct chart around the outside, because I actually want to show you some major things that downloaded to me this morning. Okay, so Neptune. I said the Neptune square to Sagittarius A was the most important thing. Okay, so I want to show you. I don't think this software will allow me to. So no, to square to a fixed point on a chart. So I'm going to take you to Neptune stations, retrograde and direct. So we're on May the 5th. So Neptune is going to station retrograde on June the 30th in an almost exact square to this galactic center and to my ascendant. So I might just start doing tarot readings, a bit like the fabulous Revealing Light Tarot, who does just kind of these channeled tarot readings, or a lot of my astrology readings will be things like just, wow, yeah, this is telling me that. I don't know where it comes from, but anyway. So this summer, June the 30th, we get the first almost exact square of Neptune to Sagittarius A, to the galactic center. And if you bear thinking, Neptune and Pisces and Sagittarius are both to do with all faith, belief, expansion, spiritual vision, connection with the divine, experience of the divine. I just think we are being lifted up spiritually, and our connection with nature, whatever the true divine is to do. There's no accident that I'm listening to this book called Mind of the Universe on my walks at the moment. What was it called again? Yeah, well, it's actually called LSD in the Mind of the Universe. Calls it Diamonds from Heaven by Christopher M. Bache, B-A-C-H-E. I'm not suggesting anybody does LSD to do it, but listening to his experience is profound as well. And it's my belief that shamanic journey work takes you there as well. So this is why I'm integrating more of my shamanic practices into my work, because I'm being squared. So anyway, that's this summer. Then Neptune retrogrades a little bit, but it's still within orb. This square is happening for well over 2 years, but it gets better. So Neptune stations direct on December the 6th, 2023, and starts heading back towards the galactic center. On July the 2nd, 2024, Neptune will have been back over back over the square to the galactic center. But wait till you see this. Okay. On December the 7th, 2024, if you've been paying attention, some of you may have heard me mention that date before. On December the 27th, 2024, Venus, Ceres, and Pluto, Venus, Ceres, Pluto, all meet at 0 degrees Aquarius. And Pluto is stationed there right now. And Pluto will not move fully into the sign of Aquarius until November the 19th, 2024. So he'll just be back in there, and he'll be back there for good. But look where Pluto is at that point. Pluto is at 0 degrees 23 minutes, and he stationed retrograde now, as I'm recording this, at 0 degrees 21 minutes of Aquarius. Kapow. I also see this as really bringing together Venus, who's kind of our higher incarnation of Earth, and she is really Persephone in my view. So she is kind of the innocence, but the loss of innocence and the coming to terms with the fact that we are fully human, etc. Then we have Ceres, who was reclassified to a dwarf planet at the same time that Pluto was reclassified or demoted to dwarf planet. And they are the mother and the abductor of Persephone. And it's kind of all coming together to say, we are going to integrate into wholeness. We are going to re-become the one, to talk of this summit that I'm going to be a part of this in June. And it's just profound. And I noticed this ages ago, and I've talked about this a lot. So I'm going to look at some other stuff that's coming towards it. But then I noticed today when I was looking at this galactic center stuff, on December the 7th, the same day, Neptune stations direct again. Yes. On December the 7th, 2024, in an almost, well, it probably will be exact square to the galactic center, because the galactic center was said to be at about 27 degrees and 3 minutes in 2017. So by then it will have moved 7 years. So moves a degree every 72 years. So this will be about 1/10 of a degree. So yeah, you know, you get the idea. Very close to an extremely exact square on the same day. Now, intuitively, I've had this feeling that the USA is going to come back together and is going to kind of be this, re-find its soul. And in that case, I am going to look at Joe Biden's chart, because I do think he is the right player for the right time. I think Donald Trump was the right player for the right time to kind of show us our shadow. I said when he was elected, his part in this is kind of to show us the shadow and to show and to reveal what needs to be kind of changed and shored up. Okay. So, by the way, if any of you, you know, I don't want to hear any opinions on the characters of these people. I'm talking about the astrology of all of this. I might look at Biden's and Trump's chart. I'm also going to look at Bernie Sanders. So bear with me. So I'm not interested in political opinions about these. This is about the astrology and about what I'm seeing and what my own connection with this galactic center is telling me right now. Okay. So we're still connected to this eclipse. There's going to be other kind of, you know, activations since, but I'm just going to stay with this eclipse for a minute. And this being the degree of that great American eclipse that's literally split the country in half. We actually have some other eclipses that are going up right through the middle of the country. So I'll look at those in future. But it was called the Great American Eclipse for a reason. And so anyway, incidentally, on this eclipse as well, Uranus is right at the midheaven of the USA chart. Kind of radical change, revolutionary change. There's so much I could say about that. But let's just stay with that galactic center degree by now. By the time All of this has moved around. Let's look at what other aspects, because I've been eyeing that 27 degree, that date, December the 7th, 2024, which incidentally is just after the next US election, and thinking, I think this is going to be a time of reconciliation and healing. So hope, fingers crossed, hope I'm right. Actually, I don't have much more to say about the chart. I just wanted to emphasize this over here. All right. I'm going to, oh, of course, Ceres has moved all the way around here by then. No, not much else. I really want to say. So I am going to actually leave December the 7th up. No, I'm not. I'm going to look at the eclipse first with Biden. So let's actually get Joe Biden's chart and put him in the middle and look at this eclipse, because it's activating a lot of stuff that's coming up. All right. So Biden, the eclipse is on Biden's Mars. I think of his Mars in Scorpio because Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio as being a really good thing. And there's a lot of fear about eclipses. But I will say that this lunar eclipse being on his Mars in the sign of Scorpio, and him being a Scorpio native as well, is very dark, Brandon. It's in the 12th house, very hidden strengths. I know I'm a 12th houser myself. It often is strengths revealed as we grow and evolve. I think this eclipse is going to reveal more of the dark Brandon. I go back to the correspondence dinner where I thought actually Biden was hilarious, by the way. I thought he was so funny and so sharp. So again, I do not want any opinions. By the way, I was not a Biden fan. Hands up. I did not vote for him. Why did my hand go up there? Whoa. That's weird. Anyway, my hand's gone up. That's so funny. I raised it like this and there's my hand. But anyway, I kind of think this eclipse is going to bring out more of the dark Brandon. So we first have that. But then I told you I was going to talk about the galactic center. There's the galactic center, 27 degrees Sagittarius in his first house. Now, on first reflection, does he have a huge amount at that degree? Some asteroids. But then he has Chiron. Chiron trine that degree. And his Chiron was conjunct the eclipse ascendant, right? So, yeah, and that great American eclipse, and on the coming Venus retrograde. Oh, so many things I could say. Chiron, the key to healing. All right. And, you know, if I use the true node, Biden is like me. Biden has a north node that changes signs. If I use the true node, he is 0 Virgo, which is highly activated by stationing Pluto. So Pluto is retrograde over here in a quincunx to his north node. If I do the mean node, his mean node shifts to 29 Leo, which is right on that eclipse as well. So either way, it's very close to it. So this north node and his Chiron are in a trine to the eclipse. And if you remember, we had that fire grand trine that I was showing and all that kind of stuff being activated. So, yay. I think he's the right man for the job. Chiron being the key to healing, up there in the 9th house, the guru, the teacher. You know, I'm not saying, I actually do think that Biden has gone through a bit of a spiritual evolutionary awakening since the death of his son. And I also think the eclipses going and the South Node going back through his 12th house is helping to reveal his inner strengths. So, you know, all my fellow lefty friends who are going, ooh, Biden still. I was the worst for Biden about Biden in 2020. I'm not now because I've looked at the astrology. But anyway, so that's the first one, trying to that. But then I look at his sun. He has this Sun-Venus conjunction. And it's in Scorpio and in the 12th house. So no wonder he's a bit touchy, Biden. He likes to, like, you know, hug people and touch people. But look at this. These are in a semi-sextile to this galactic center that is being so activated right now by Jupiter, by Venus, pointing a yod. They're in the Venus-Jupiter sextile is pointing the finger right at his sun Venus. Semi-sextiles, an aspect that's often underestimated or not used or dismissed as a minor aspect. And I can hear Rick Levine's voice in my head going, don't call them minor aspects. Don't call them minor aspects. There's no such thing as a minor aspect. Semi-sextiles are very strong. Now, my own take on semi-sextiles is that they, you know, they're in adjacent signs. They're standing next to each other, kind of giving each other the side eye, looking at each other. But often the connection between the two as we grow and evolve, and Biden's, you know, certainly grown and evolved. He's going to be 81 this November. He'll be 82 by the time he's elected, and I actually think he'll be elected. That's my instinct, based on that December the 7th kind of thing, which we'll look at in a minute too. But this is like this, all this galactic center activation stuff is bringing, he's close to God right now. Venus is opposing the galactic center in quincunx to his sun Venus. Jupiter, which is the ruler of the galactic center, by the way, is in the other quincunx to this. And this is in Mars ruled Aries. Is his destiny, all right? Then we've got Pluto at 0 degrees, making a quincunx to the node. He's making an adjustment to his soul's journey. And then we've got Neptune as well, being trined by Pluto. He feels he's on a divine mission, in my opinion, right now. I do really think that his son's death kind of awakened him. And I think the reason he's spending his last years where, you know, he could be in retirement, I think he feels like he's on this almost divine mission, whether he would say so or not. But he's a very spiritual guy and a religious guy, so I think he would say it. I think he thinks he is on this mission from God to restore the soul of the country, as he says. And that's why he's saying, finish the job. Anyway, why do I think Bernie Sanders is connected as well? I'm going to show you as well. Well, most of my former lefty friends, or still lefty friends, I'm just not listening at the moment, are going, well, why is Bernie Sanders immediately endorsing Biden and, you know, saying we've got to re-elect Biden and all that kind of thing, after he did 2 runs and he's the kind of rebel alliance in the Senate. I love my Bernie. Well, Bernie is a Virgo, okay? And this is Bernie Sanders' chart in the middle. Now, Bernie's chart was aspected. His sun was sextile the moon. But he has this Neptune square to the galactic center. Bernie also has Ceres conjunct the galactic center. He knows that Biden is on this mission from the Godhead, the creative force of the universe as well. I'm convinced of it. And, you know, the galactic center is quite so big that you could say Bernie Sanders' nodes are square to the galactic center. I had not realized that Bernie Sanders' Ceres was conjunct the galactic center. He knows we need to bring back this more caring, nourishing kind of government. And I think they're working in tandem. Biden gave Bernie Sanders a very responsible role. And, you know, I think Biden and Bernie talk a lot, to be quite honest. I think there's an awful lot there that's coming through. So, incidentally, no, I don't want to talk about much else. I do want to say that Bernie Sanders, asteroid Lilith, the talk to the hand Lilith, is in his 12th house, conjunct Biden's Mars. And so, you know, he's still going to be the rebel. Bernie Sanders is still going to speak out and say, you're not doing this right, but he's working within the system to change it. All right, so I am actually going to go to December the 7th. Let's have a look at the election. December the 7th, 2024. I'm not going to get the time exact because it doesn't really matter that much. I just need to reorient myself. Of course, the galactic center is still on the galactic center there. Neptune there at the station degree, incidentally on Bernie's south node. But I want to look at Biden. Okay, so here's Biden in the middle. The galactic center is still on the galactic center, of course. But let's look at the other aspects. Earlier on December the 7th, the moon is going to be crossing his south node. His north node, or the transiting north node, is on his Eris. Shake things up, but he does it in a very surreptitious way. Okay, but look where this 0 degree Aquarius takes place in Biden's chart, in trine to his Neptune, in his second house of how he earns his money, basically, the job of president, in trine to his Neptune. I think and the transiting south node will be on his Neptune by then. I kind of think he's there to kind of finish the job. Whether he gets elected and, I was going to look at somebody else's chart. Whether he gets elected and doesn't finish his office, I would never predict anything like that. I'm not even going to look at that, to be quite honest, because I don't like to play that game in astrology. But shall we look at Donald Trump's too, just to have a quick look? Although I'm not entirely convinced he'll be the candidate, but he's the leading candidate at the moment. He has the eclipse energy, that ascendant, the Washington DC one, right on his ascendant. I think that could take out his ascendancy. Uranus is at the top of his chart on December the 7th, 2024. Maybe we should put the eclipse here. Let me just save that. And put the eclipse here first of all. There's 2. Because this is what's activating the change. So yeah, Uranus is coming up to Donald Trump's midheaven. Donald Trump doesn't have as much connection with the galactic center. He's not on a mission from God. Venus over here, opposing it, the galactic center. Jupiter over here, trine his ascendant, but that ascendant in the eclipse chart with Washington DC conjunct his Mars, I kind of think his time he's toast. I kind of think he's done over the next while. Then we look at those transits again for the actual election. Mars on his Pluto in the 12th house. Oh, that's not quite so nice, to be quite honest. Jupiter will be on his Uranus, but that can bring, you know, a rapid kind of downfall as well, and a change in how people see him. And Uranus at the top of the chart, right on December the 7th, 24, and retrograde, kind of speaks to me like as downfall, really. And last thing, Neptune. That square from Neptune to the galactic center, Neptune is going to be hovering on the cusp of his 8th house. And that is not a fortunate house. I really don't think. I think his goose is cooked. All right, so I hope you enjoy this. Leave me comments. Remember, I'm not interested in hearing opinions and slagging any of the candidates off. I've looked at the astrology, and it's just astounding to me, especially the galactic center things. I really do think by the end of December 2024, our soul is going to be returning and coming through brighter than ever before. Much love. I will see you later.